Of course, the content of your speech is very important. However, if you can't deliver that content to your audience, you're going to really struggle with connecting with them and getting your message to them. And for that reason, we need to understand delivery and the methods we can utilize to make a better presentation. When we talk about this, we want to talk about several things. We want to talk about the different methods of delivery, voice in delivery, body language in delivery, and question and answers that you'll encounter perhaps at the end of your speech. First, the delivery methods. These are several methods. We're not going to use all of them. And matter of fact, we're going to stick to one in our course, speaking extemporaneously. But the other ones you may encounter in different situations based on where you are and audience expectations. Reading a manuscript, for instance, this could be as simple as reading a book to children in a classroom. It could be a case of reading an important letter or another type of manuscript to the audience. That is one method. Reciting from memory. We all enjoy the TV shows, but we also all enjoy the bloopers from those TV shows. And the reason is because these people are reciting their entire speech from memory. And this is a very difficult form to do it. A lot of people can get about 3 to 5 minutes of a memorized speech and present it well. Beyond that, most of us struggle. So reading or reciting from memory can come in use if perhaps you're doing a sales pitch and you need to know exactly what you're saying. You may need to memorize that. Or you might perhaps one day be a star and have to memorize a script for a movie, a play, or a television show. Speaking impromptu, we try to avoid that. That's that last minute thing. You have no time to prepare and you're called up and you have to deliver some type of information in front of a group of people. Now, I understand speaking impromptu is completely off the cuff, as they say. But if you're paying attention in this class, you're already getting an idea of, even if you have to speak impromptu, what your speech should look like. You'll still have that attention getter, that thesis, that body, and that conclusion. So as we're learning, we can actually become better impromptu speakers just on the basis of what we're learning in public speaking. And finally, speaking extemporaneously. This is not reading from manuscript. It's not reciting from memory. It's not speaking impromptu. In fact, what we're doing is we are writing out our speeches. We are planning them very purposefully. But rather than reading the manuscript, we are creating keyword outlines. And from here, we're able to just refresh our memory and expand on the information when we see it in front of us. And that is speaking extemporaneously, which is a very conversational style that audiences are used to and expect from us. Your speaking voice. Too often we forget about the speaking voice. We're more focused on getting our content out, using the words, and just finishing our speech, which creates a very monotone delivery, a delivery that the audience falls asleep with. So instead, we have to focus on our voice as a tool. I have a little extra that I'm throwing out there for you that will look at how perhaps if we look at our presentation as more of a song, we find that we will use our volume, our pitch, our rate, our pauses. We'll have vocal variety. All of these are similar to in music when you're singing. Think of almost your presentation as being a song. You don't have to burst into song, but use your voice as a tool. Make sure you're also using pronunciation. Articulate your words and use the proper dialect when utilizing words, because if you don't pronunciate, your words get mumbled and they get lost, they get confusing. Same with articulation. And for these reasons, you need to have a good voice when you're presenting. You need to use it as one of your main tools to connect with the audience. Body communication. Even before you say a word, even before you step in front of the crowd, they will see you. They will see how you look. And there's going to be an expectation of how you look. And if you don't match those expectations, the audience may automatically take a little bit of ethos from you, not view you as credible. If you're going to talk about graduation, if you go up in a cap and gown, you meet that expectation. Perhaps you've seen this with commercials where the spokesperson wears a lab coat because we expect that of people talking to us in those forums. So you want to make sure your appearance matches your audience expectations. And in so doing, you increase your credibility, your ethos, and it is easier to communicate. Movement, they need to be purposeful. They need to be something that you look at and you consider, because if you stand in one place and you only look ahead, your audience feels like you're only delivering your speech to one person in the front row. No, you need to have purposeful movement where you pivot and talk to others. You can even change distance between you and the audience when you really want to connect with your audience and you really want to get a point out there. You step towards your audience and you deliver that, and that closing the gap makes the audience feel that, yes, this is the important part. So your movement is important. Don't have dancing feet and some of the other aspects we've talked about and come up in our rubrics and grades. Instead, have them be purposeful and planned out to connect with your audience. Gesturing. We talk about that. Gesturing needs to be big, needs to reach out to your audience, needs to help them understand what you're saying. And you can do this because it draws images for them. If I want to talk about the first thing, the second thing, the third thing, the audience understands. It's a list. They connect with that through the gesturing. If you keep your arms in close and you close up, your audience doesn't get that you're really presenting to them, that instead you're very much, it shows your nervousness. By opening up, it shows strength and your connection with the audience. So absolutely do that. Eye contact. Now this is going to be a little tricky, but understand there are several things. Find those friendly faces in the audience. By finding those friendly faces, you're able to make eye contact with them and have them spread throughout the room. So if you are making eye contact with a person here, you can then pivot and talk to someone over here. For your audience, they see you're making eye contact with the audience. They're not thinking you're just looking at that one person. Instead, they think you're looking at that section. And that section, if they're in it, they feel like you're communicating directly to them. Don't do some of the tricks you hear, oh, just look over the head of your audience. Trust me, having been in an audience, I can tell when the speaker is looking over us. And matter of fact, you start to go, what are they looking at? And you become distracted. So find those friendly faces, spread throughout the room, make eye contact with them, 3 to 5 seconds, not longer than that. If you want to freak out your audience member, look at one of them for 10 or 20 seconds, and they will become uncomfortable. You may see this in a classroom. For instance, if one of your fellow students has fallen asleep, the instructor may just present and talk directly to them and close the distance to them. And you can feel how awkward that feels for the person. So 3 to 5 seconds, friendly faces, it will help you. Practice, practice, practice. And the reason for this is it helps reduce your stress. Because when you know something, when you are ready for your presentation, you have that energy that impacts your delivery. And you can also begin to find where you have troubles. You read your full sentence outline out loud, because then you can start to see, oh gosh, it feels kind of, doesn't really connect there. That's not a strong point. That isn't working. And you can adjust your full sentence outline before you make your keyword outline so that your presentation or delivery are more flawless. Do so in the mirror. I know this is difficult because we don't necessarily like how we look when we're presenting, and we might focus on some negative aspect of us. But it's important because then we can see, well, this works when I do this, and that doesn't look right. So by practicing in a mirror, you're able to analyze your delivery style. And one step up from that is recording yourself. Recording a speech allows you to rewind it, review it, see things that you like so you're sure to utilize those. See things that don't work so you can eliminate those. And a recording helps you because you're also able to develop your stage presence, to move purposefully in the stage. And that will help you relax because you'll be prepared. You'll know you've already worked out all the bad parts. You can now visualize what your speech looks like when it's delivered right. All these will help you. So practice, practice, practice. Now, question and answers. These come up towards the end. We're not going to do that in this class. However, you might be in another class where you have to present, and the last few minutes of that is a case of, all right, let's have some question and answers. Or perhaps you're a politician at a town hall. There's going to be question and answers. Or you might be presenting at work. There's going to be questions and answers. Now you know the topic of your speech. You know the strengths and the weaknesses of your argument. So you're able to actually look and say, oh, this is the question they're going to ask. If I talk about sales going down for the last quarter in front of a group, well, they're going to ask why. So I better have a good answer. So you can actually write out answers to questions you expect, and then you can practice delivering those. And that will make you more prepared, will make those question and answer segments less stressful. Also, you need to approach question and answers as a positive thing. It's a chance for you to connect even further with your audience and to get feedback on your delivery. So it can be a very positive thing. If you approach it with a negative attitude, that's going to come across and you're going to start hostility with your audience, which you don't want. Listen carefully and watch for their nonverbal cues, not just the words they're saying, but what are they saying? Are they coming up, arms crossed, giving you, a stare down? In that case, okay, this person is hostile towards me, so I better, first of all, keep that positive attitude, and I better try to diffuse it by acknowledging his question or her question and then addressing it. And you'll see this commonly. A person will be doing a question and answer segment, and a person on the right side of the room will ask the question. They will listen, they'll repeat it back, and then they will pivot it and make it for the entire audience. Because you're still presenting even in the question and answer segment, where you still want to address your entire audience. So do so. It's important to remain honest and straightforward in your answers. If you don't know something, say, I don't know that. But do give a promise of perhaps resolving it. I don't know that, but let's look into that. That's something we can explore. Those give a positive vibe to your audience, even in areas where you weren't able to prepare for the answer or the question, and you're not ready for it. Stay on track. Don't get off track. Sometimes the question can start leading you off track, so try to make sure you pull it back to your thesis, to your entire speech, to that mic drop that you had at the end, so that way your audience feels it's still important to them. And listen to the feedback. Don't cut them off. You cut them off, that's going to upset them. So be patient. And once after they have finished asking their question, then respond. Presenting online, we are getting a lot of opportunity to do that because we are online. And I just want to reiterate that you want to understand the environment. You want to make sure you have a good environment for presenting. Know your technology. Control the visual in the environment. Lighting, closing shades, making sure there isn't something in the background that's overly distracting. Adapt your nonverbal communication. I can't move around the stage. I'm in a chair. So I have to adjust to that. I can't pivot, and I know my eye contact is going to be with the camera, not with someone in the room. So this is how you're adjusting your nonverbals. Change your pacing. We tend to go faster even online than we do in person. So Get used to taking that breath, slowing down, and engaging your audience. And rehearse from the environment. Don't let it be the first time you're using the technology. Don't let it be the first time you're sitting in the chair. Don't let it be the first time you're talking to a camera. Rehearse in the online environment. So what we really need to cover with delivery is the different methods you'll encounter, using your voice as a tool, your body to enhance, and question and answers. With these tools, you can better connect with your audience, and you can really make a persuasive speech, an informative speech that will linger with your audience so that way they can be persuaded or they will have learned something. And as always, if there's questions and answers, please send me a message, send me an email, and I'll get back to you on those.